After falling into the Championship, Fulham have bounced back into the Premier League at the first attempt. Full focus is now on building a team which is capable of avoiding relegation, something they weren't able to get right before. So in 2020, is the team strong enough? Who are the first names on the team sheet, and how can Fulham learn from previous mistakes? As Fulham fans will be sick of hearing now, they've moved on from the 2018-19 Premier League season. However, it has to be mentioned now, that campaign was really poor, and looking back at that season, a lot of the blame has to go down to the preparation. The recruitment leading up to the season in the summer of 2018 wasn't up to Premier League standard, and what makes it worse is the amount spent on those players. Over £100 million, over £20 million on 3 players, Seri, Anguissa and Mitrovic. 3 players still at the club, and we'll be mentioning them throughout the video. There was a huge lack of a goal-scoring threat, and this goes back to the recruitment in the summer. 11 goals from Mitrovic, 6 from Schürrle and then 5 from Babel, but he was only there half the season as he signed in January. But what followed this was the sacking of Djokanovic after a bad start in the league. The appointment of Claudio Ranieri wasn't successful either, meaning 2 sackings in the same season. And that's where the management of Scott Parker at Fulham started. When he got appointed in the Premier League, there was a little more promise with him as manager, winning 3 games on the bounce in the 10 games he was in charge. And it was somebody who cared for the club that had ambition, meaning the commitment was there to gain promotion in his first full season. After the 2-0 win against Everton in April 2019, their first win since January, Tom Kearney showed his faith in the manager. He said, "Ever since Scott Parker was put in charge, it's always been a step in the right direction. You can see the players play for him, the way that they respond." More impressively, in all these Premier League wins, they were able to keep clean sheets in every game. So, in the Championship, Scott Parker impressively kept Fulham in the top 6 right from November up until the last game where they finished 4th. Throughout the season, Parker opted to use a 4-2-3-1 and a 4-3-3. The 4-2-3-1 being used in the playoffs where they were able to gain promotion. The standout players from this season, Mitrovic with 26 goals as expected, is a massive part of why Fulham are back in the Premier League. He is a striker that is aerially strong, and this was utilised throughout the season by the manager. He won 182 aerial duels, the most for Fulham and 8th among strikers in the Championship. Harrison Reed in the midfield was defensively solid, making 1.8 tackles and 1.5 interceptions per 90. Cavallero was the type of player Fulham needed in their squad, and last season he showed exactly why. Successfully completing 63 dribbles, the most in the Fulham squad. 66 key passes is only second to Kearney, so he was a player creating chances for the team. Assisting for Mitrovic, which he did 3 times, as well as Kamara. The left back Joe Bryan assisted for the striker 6 times, the joint best link up in the Championship, along with Amiobi assisting for Graben. And Bryan was another player to play an important part. Most of all for the 2 goals he scored in the final, but an all-round good season for him. He made the most tackles for Fulham, nearly double what the player in second had with 117. That's 3rd in the whole league. With 7 assists throughout the season, he provided a good attacking threat, being one of the main crossers of the ball in the team. Knockaert had the most accurate crosses, with Bryan and Cavallero the other main 2. Who in the squad then is good enough for the Premier League? This is what Fulham should be assessing to avoid previous mistakes. Is the team really good enough to compete in this league? I do struggle finding much Premier League quality throughout the team, and many players in this squad have question marks over them. Are they up to Premier League standard, or rather squad players? The starters who I think stand out for me are Bryan, Mitrovic, Reed, Hector, and I'm fairly optimistic about Anguissa playing a solid part, but then again, there is a doubt on that one. Others such as Cavallero, Knockaert, Kearney, Kamara can play a decent part, as well as Josh Onoma. He's featured in 13 Premier League games. That sounds okay until you realise that those 13 games only add up to 92 minutes of Premier League football. They're good players that could play an even better part with some more quality around them. We'll be getting onto transfers later in the video. Mitrovic has got another opportunity in the Premier League. He scored 11 when they were here before, so can he improve on that? I would probably say midfield is where they are strongest. A midfielder that we mentioned looking to progress and play better than he did before in a Fulham shirt is Anguissa. The 2018 summer signing hasn't shown Fulham fans enough to say he's worth the 22 million price tag. The Cameroon international clocked up over 1,500 minutes in the Premier League, but failed to make an impact on the team. Last season he went on loan to Villarreal, where he was able to solidify his place in the team over in Spain. And this was due to his impressive performances there, making him one of the more interesting players this season as we watch to see if he can bring that form over to England. Playing at defensive and central midfield, he's a player that likes to get the ball in his own half and has the confidence as well as the ability to take on players as he strides up the pitch before he makes a pass. He's patient with the pass as he breaks the lines and takes on the opposition, removing them from the situation and moving the ball into the wide areas where they can look to create a chance. He had 85 successful dribbles, which was the second most among midfielders in La Liga, and his success rate was 83%. In the top 15 for most dribbles, only Atletico Madrid's Thomas Partey had a higher success rate with 89%. As I mentioned, he played central midfield and a little more defensive at times too, and this is because he's effective in tackling the ball and can read the game. 76 tackles is the 7th most and 44 interceptions is the 11th most among midfielders in La Liga. That calculates to 2.6 tackles per 90 as well as 1.5 interceptions. He's also a restless player that will give the ball carrier a tough time. He attempted the most pressures of the ball for Villarreal as well as having the most successful pressures with 156. And this proves exactly that he wants to press the opposition before they enter the final third. 353 of the pressures he attempted were in the middle third, meaning that he can attempt to win the ball in this area of the pitch and do what he does brilliantly, which is taking on players and kick-starting an attacking opportunity for the team. So some signings have been completed already, with some of them being mentioned throughout the video. Harrison Reed, who was impressive, signs permanently from Southampton, the type of transfer that they should be making, as well as another Southampton midfielder, this time a season-long loan from Mario Lemina, an aggressive player that in the 18-19 season at Southampton won 40 tackles, the 3rd most for Southampton, another midfielder who likes to carry the ball and is confident in his ability to do this. Anthony Robinson was linked to a few Premier League clubs, someone I mentioned in my transfer video. As Wigan are going through tough times, it meant that they could pick him up for just under £2 million. Joe Bryan I'm sure will be the starter, so it seems Robinson will be a backup to him, and it's a good backup to have, a position where Fulham are going to have good depth and quality for the season. Robinson is good at taking on players. He made 81 dribbles last year, 10th in the Championship. So as a backup, he can come on if Fulham are looking to add some more pace and penetration on the left flank. In terms of chance creation, Bryan was a little better at this last year, 49 key passes from him and 30 from Robinson. The same goes with accurate crosses too, 38 from Bryan and Robinson had 30. So if one is having a bad game, then looking at the alternative left back on the bench could be good for Fulham. Knockout's loan has been made permanent. The last time he was in the Premier League was with Brighton in the 18-19 season, scoring 2 and assisting 6. A decent player that can play a part, but I think with this promotion into the Premier League, improvement can be made on him, and Fulham should press on with this in the transfer window. And most recently, a loan for Alphonse Areola, a goalkeeper coming in to compete for Rodek's place in the team. As well as these, there have been other signings confirmed while making the video. Torino's Ola Aina, a right back that has previously played in England with Chelsea and spent the 17-18 season on loan at Hull in the Championship. He'll add qualities that they have on the left to the right hand side, a younger player with pace and the ability to take on players, running on the overlap and contributing to creating chances, the type of fullback to bring into the team. And they're adding depth to the fullback positions like they have on the left. It seems to be a priority for Fulham as they bring in Kenny Tete too, a player who featured in the Champions League with Lyon, so he's got experience of playing football at the highest level. He's someone who contributes well defensively and is solid in 1v1 situations. He'll be a good asset to the team when they're up against attacking sides and they need some defensive stability. But similar to the options they have at fullback, he's able to pass the ball well and averaged 1 key pass per 90 last season. The season before, 1.6 per 90, ranking 3rd for defenders in the French division and got 3 assists. There have been other rumours to players, but nothing that looks to be a solid link and have recently died down. Martin Hinteregger is a centre-back that has been linked to Southampton, although it's reported a €20 million bid has been rejected and it's not from Southampton. Possibly it's Fulham after they showed interest in January. He's certainly the centre-back that Fulham are screaming for. Left-footed, won the 7th most aerial duels by defenders in the Bundesliga, and a good passing range with 4.2 accurate long balls per 90. It may be that he stays at the club, but with no other links to a centre-back, it's worth showing the qualities that he has because this is what they should look for in other targets. Other rumours that were around mentioned Jovan Cabral from Sporting Lisbon and a loan for Ademola Lookman from RB Leipzig. Firstly, with Cabral, he's fantastic at dribbling and would pose a great threat when he's on the ball. 3.1 successful dribbles per 90 is the most for Sporting this season. He had an injury up to the 27th of January when he made his return to the team, and he instantly made an impact with an assist off the bench. He scored 6 and assisted 3 in 16 games, so returning from his injury in a very good way. With Cabral yet to have a full season at Sporting, maybe he's not the right choice at the moment and he can still develop a lot more being 22. And then Lookman, since leaving Charlton he's never been able to live up to his potential, but showing sparks here and there that he could become something brilliant. RB Leipzig wouldn't just sign him if they couldn't see potential. Again, a player that even in poor seasons has been very impressive with his dribbling ability. At Leipzig he had 2.4 successful dribbles, Everton 3.4, which was the most at the club that season. He's brilliant in 1v1 situations, being able to take the ball through small gaps and fake moving one way and then go the other. All of this with speed, and he's got the pace to beat a defender. He needs some solid game time to get some confidence, and maybe Scott Parker can take that risk in starting Lookman. And who knows, there could be a brilliant reward after a few games. There is a clear good connection between the players and the manager, which is brilliant in an important season like this. However, I feel the quality of players that Scott has aren't up to Premier League standard. It may have been that Fulham got promoted a little early. They could have done with some more transfer windows in the Championship, so there was less work to do in the market now. To learn from previous mistakes, they need to press on with a few more signings that are of a good standard, and then believe in the manager. Give him a chance to turn things around if they are going bad. Comment below or in my Discord server, how do you expect Fulham to get on in this upcoming season? I recommend that you don't miss out on future videos. Subscribe to Route 1 and like the video if you did enjoy.